Friends, if you are looking for comprehensive Tradescantia care tips, look no further. I will show you how easy it is to grow outdoors, to grow indoors. It is so awesome. I'm going to give you everything you need to know to grow Tradescantia for yourself, and spoil alert, it's super easy. So stay tuned. If you love plant videos, why not stick around? And why don't you go ahead and subscribe? You let YouTube know that you are super interested in these awesome plant videos, and they'll get delivered to you on Fridays, which is awesome. It's like, hello weekend, thanks for the party. Ring that bell to be notified, and let's get going. So we have Tradescantia fluminensis, we have Tradescantia zebrina, we have Tradescantia nanouk, and we have another Tradescantia. The fluminensis that I have are variegated, but I did see that one of these that is getting a lot of light actually has a little bit of purpling going on, so it might be a tricolor, and I did not know that. So that's very exciting. This isn't an exhaustive list for Tradescantia. There are lots and lots of different varieties, but the care tips are all kind of the same for most of the Tradescantia family. Tradescantia is also referred to as spiderwort or inch plant. I know some people call it wandering Jew. I don't prefer that. I feel like that could get a little offensive, so I leave that alone. I just call it Tradescantia. Lots of people forget that our indoor jungle plants can actually grow outdoors depending on your climate. But I mean, Tradescantia is very flexible, and depending on where you live, can grow at least during the warm parts of the year outside. Do you grow Tradescantia? Do you grow it indoors? Do you grow it outdoors? And what varieties do you have? I know there are a couple that I'm definitely missing. I want the all purple one. I want a tricolor, a proper tricolor one. What are you growing? Let me know in the comments below. As I said, Tradescantia can grow indoors or outdoors because it's very flexible. It's just a very flexible plant in terms of its light requirements. Here you can see that this plant was actually growing in my bathroom with its calathea and maranta friends. So it's actually growing in a kind of a more low to medium light situation and relatively high humidity. This one over here has been growing on the bookshelf, so that's more medium to bright light, and it is not necessarily very humid at all. Now this big one, you can see it kind of coming up front here. It keeps going and going and going. This one is growing in brighter light. Maybe gets some indirect depending on where the sun is throughout the year, but it gets more medium to bright indirect light, and sometimes the humidifier is on and keeps it going, sometimes it's not. Now these ones, the Tradescantia nanouk, grow outside, and I know people do have these inside, and they look a little bit less beat up than mine do. Mine look a little bit sunburned because that's what's happening. They're getting 4 to 5 hours of direct light throughout the day. However, they are flowering. Yes, they're flowering! Tradescantia do flower, and in fact you could probably get your Tradescantia to flower inside your home if it's getting enough light. None of my indoor Tradescantia bloom indoors just because I don't have enough bright light for them. They grow fine, they vine, they're beautiful, they just don't flower. But the nanouk, they get so much light. They are flowering like crazy. This one I thought was going to die. I'd forgotten to water it. It was in a kind of a funky place inside, not getting great light. I wasn't watering it. It just kind of got crunchy. So I set it outside and over here in the shade, and it's going just fine now. It's got some length. It's definitely improving. And this is the one that actually has, I'm not sure if you can see, it's so faint, but it has a little bit of a purple hue. So maybe this is actually a tricolor, and now that it's outside, it's getting enough light to show off its beautiful purple foliage. So I might give it even a better place outdoors here to catch a little bit more light and see if I can get any more purple foliage. And this one is just due for a repot. It's really dry and it needs to be cleaned up, but you know, hey, it's just lucky to be alive at this point. I know by the end of summer, this thing is going to be massive because they are such vigorous growers, which is why they're sometimes referred to as inch plant, because it's almost like they grow an inch a day. I've never measured it. I don't think so based on how long they are, but they do grow really fast. As with most plants, the ones that get the most light are going to have the most growth. They might even flower. The Tradescantia that is the longest one in my house is the one that gets the best light. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to see here, but this thing is, oh, I don't know, 4 feet tall, maybe. It's really long. This and my chain of hearts are having a race as who can get to the floor first. We'll see what happens. These plants are not only flexible when it comes to different lighting situations, they're also very flexible in terms of water, as long as they're in well-draining soil. They don't want to be soaking wet, they don't want to sit wet, but they will go a long time between waterings. My outdoor Tradescantia get watered once a week, and they definitely dry out between waterings, completely dry out. The Tradescantia inside, they get water a little bit more frequently, and they don't dry out quite as much. In turn, they're a little bit more tender, they're a little bit more pleasant to look at in terms of they're not kind of so brown and crunchy. So, but they're alive and they're growing, and it's just a very, very flexible plant. Also, the really great thing about Tradescantia is that it's so easy to make more. These cuttings came from my friend's plant. They just fell off as she was kind of cleaning it up. And that does happen. Tradescantia can be a little bit brittle and breakable. Sometimes their little limbs fall off, and that's totally fine because it's so easy to make more. Really, all you need to do is to put it in soil. And I have some soil down here. I did put these in water only because I knew that I was gonna do a video in a couple days. And so I just wanted them to last a little bit longer. You definitely don't have to water propagate these guys. There is a plant back here. There's another plant back here. I propagated this. These were cuttings from one of my indoor fluminensis, and they took root and are going like crazy already. So you really just have to put them in a little bit of soil. It's best if you have a couple leaves like this, if you have a couple leaves per stem. I like to just remove the bottom stem and seriously just, you know, plop it in. However, I propagated one of the nanouks with just one leaf, and it'll go. You might have a little less luck, but truly all you have to do is just set it in. If you have a long stem or a long branch, you can just cut it and just make sure you have a node or two and just stick it in the soil. And as with almost every plant that you propagate, the best plan is to keep the soil a little bit more moist than you normally would. I am going to leave this outside, and I'm going to leave it in the shade, kind of where the other one was that just kind of went off. I literally have them behind this chair over here. I kind of want this one to start leggy. Normally I would make them a little bit bushier and maybe trim these down. Well, I'll show you how I would do it. So each one of these little sections is an internode. You want a node for each one. In fact, you can almost see that there is a little tiny adventitious root, an aerial root. So that's exactly where we want that to be towards the soil. So I am gonna trim that and stick that down in. Now this could make, you know, a bunch of different plugs, just this long stem. So I would just work up the stem again. Again, this one has a little adventitious root. I'm not sure if you can see that. And that is what is gonna get set down in the soil. So pro tip with Tradescantia, as I said, they can be a little bit brittle, and so you might be wanting to clean up the leaves here or there, and you'd just be tempted, as you would with any other plant, to just rip the leaf off. Unfortunately, what's gonna happen is you're gonna rip the whole leg off. But fear not, if that does happen, you just propagate it right back in the same pot, and you'll get a nice, fuller, more abundant plant. But I would just recommend using just some really sharp scissors or pruning shears to just cut those little sections off, so that you don't accidentally rip off the whole leg. Again, not a problem. In fact, that's kind of my plan with all of them. Whenever they're looking a little bit bald on top, I just take a little piece of the plant and I cut it into a few more sections and just propagate it right back into the soil. Again, making sure that I'm keeping it well watered for a couple weeks so that it can root. If you are growing them outside and you live in a warm climate, I think like 8 or above, you can definitely leave these out. Some Tradescantia I have heard can go even lower, maybe even down to like zone 4. I don't know about that, and they probably don't look great, but if I know Tradescantia, they will just spring back when spring when spring rolls around. Some of the more hardy versions could definitely go for it. I think these nanouks are some of the more hardy ones. Certainly the zebrina or the all purple, which I forgot its name right now. Someone let me know in the comments. But here's the tip too. If you are growing in really humid conditions, if you are lucky to live in these warm, humid areas, be cautious. These can be considered invasive. So I would just grow them in pots so that they didn't get away from you. As you probably know, I like to grow in pots anyways, because then you can move them around and you can move them inside if you need to. So I'll finish propagating this, but you can see how quickly these root. This one dropped all the way down. It's been in water for maybe 2 days. So you can see that they're just very aggressive rooters. They're crazy. This one's gonna get a prime place in lots of soil. It wants to grow. It's amazing. It's such a fun plant to have. I definitely recommend getting some Tradescantia. Propagating Tradescantia is so much fun. So if you are new to plants, this is definitely a great plant to get because you can really experiment with it. So I think that's about it. That's gonna be a really full plant. If I didn't answer any of your Tradescantia questions, just drop me a question down in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you. If you need more plant tips throughout the week, head over to Instagram. I have tips and tricks and videos, my IGTV and my saved stories, as well as throughout my feed. And if you haven't, check out these videos right over here, as well as giving me a click there to subscribe. I really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week.